please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome. You've joined us on Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar and with me is Mangalam Malu. Mangalam, good afternoon. Not a great day of trade today. In fact, it's the global headwinds which are really weighing down the Indian markets as well. And take a look at Nifty 50 and the markets are at the lowest point of the day. Nifty 50 has lost that 10,800 levels which it had conquered some time back and is closer to 10,700 levels. And in fact, it's a free fall across the board. So no one sector can be really given that, the kind of contribution that the overall market is really having. So it's a sentiment-driven market fall that we are seeing, and it's the mid-cap space which has seen a bigger, deeper cut than the frontline indices. In fact, if you take a look at the market breadth, it has widened consistently since the beginning of the market today. It's the Asian markets which are underperforming, and Indian markets are doing slightly better than the rest of the peers, but the European markets have also opened with a deep cut, and Dow futures also really shows a deep cut. So it's a global phenomena that India is really looking at right now and is reacting to, Mangala.
Absolutely, you rightly pointed out the Asian markets, they closed sharply lower, with the Shanghai leading losses after US President Donald Trump threatened more tariffs on the Chinese products. Trump has ordered $200 billion in Chinese goods to be identified subject to additional tariffs at a rate of 10%. Following this, even the European markets have opened sharply lower by about 1%. So keep an eye out on that, as well as there were reports that China will retaliate to Chinese retaliation of Trump's initial tariff wars. Keep an eye out on our own markets, though the futures and options data are fairly important. The 10,800 call seeing a lot of writing, 10,700 call sees a lot of writing as well. But I would be interested in looking at what 10,700 put is doing. Are we seeing some shorts cover out there or not? Because the 10,700 put has the maximum open interest, believed to be a support. In fact, instead of short covering, we're seeing some put addition at a premium of around 80 rupees out there. So it will be very interesting to see whether this mark holds on or not, because there are 52 lakh shares in open interest at the 10,700 put.
All right, so that's the picture there. But as far as the overall global markets and even commodities are concerned, that market is also seeing a sell-off on the back of global trade war fears that are really going on between the US and China. And crude oil prices, they are down 1%. Now remember that oil exporters, including Saudi Arabia as well as Russia, will meet in Vienna later this week to discuss the production limits. So crude oil is also something that we all are keeping a watch out for.
All right, let's move on to the top story today from the corporate sector. Banking space in a big shake-up at ICICI Bank. MD and CEO Chanda Kochhar has decided to go on leave till an inquiry led by Justice B.N. Srikrishna into the allegations made against her is complete. The bank has now appointed Sandeep Bakshi as the COO. Ritu Singh has more details. Ritu?
The suspense is finally over, and it looks like the board has decided to give the benefit of doubt to Chanda Kochhar by allowing her to stay on as the managing director and CEO of ICICI Bank. But, the board also said that Chanda Kochhar, in line with the highest standards of corporate governance, on her own has decided to go on an indefinite leave, pending, of course, the results of that independent probe committee that will be headed by Justice Sri Krishna. Also, the board, as expected, has appointed Sandeep Bakshi, who is currently the ICICI Pru Life MD and CEO, as a whole-time director and chief operating officer of the bank to oversee all of the operations. So all the executive management and other executive directors will be reporting in to Mr. Sandeep Bakshi, who in turn, according to the statement of the bank, will be reporting to the MD and CEO, and in her absence be reporting to the board of ICICI Bank. Do remember, Sandeep Bakshi is no stranger to banking. He started his career at ICICI Limited in 1983, has overseen both the wholesale and the retail businesses of the bank before heading on, to ICICI Life and his other functions in the group. Separately, the board has recommended to the board of ICICI Pru Life to consider the appointment of N.S. Kannan as the MD and CEO of Pru Life, in the absence of Mr. Sandeep Bakshi, who will be with the bank for the next 5 years at least. Also separately, we were expecting some announcement on that independent probe committee as well, but nothing was released by the bank on that front. But we have picked up from sources that the official letter of appointment from ICICI Bank has gone to Mr. Sri Krishna only on Friday, and therefore the probe is yet to begin. He will begin the process of appointing members of this independent committee that will be looking into allegations against the Videocon group, and it will comprise of several experts, lawyers as well as forensic auditors.
All right, it's a very, very big development that came in late last evening, and all eyes would be on ICICI Bank, and ICICI Pru Life is also something to be watched out for. And both the stocks muted and really not showing gains, but the overall market is weak, so we cannot really allude this to any impact on the news development. Let's also talk about the other company that is impacted apart from ICICI Bank. So while Sandeep Bakshi moves to ICICI Bank, the board has also appointed N.S. Kannan as the MD and CEO of ICICI Prudential Life. And my colleague Yash Jain is right outside the office of that particular company and gives us the latest. Yash, tell us.
Management reshuffle at ICICI Bank also got a change of guard at its life insurance subsidiary, which is ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. As per the direction from the board of the bank, ICICI Pru Life approved the appointment of N.S. Kannan as its managing director and CEO, relieving Sandeep Bakshi from that very role, who will continue to serve as the non-executive director of the life insurance vertical. Also, this reshuffle at ICICI Prudential Life will require the insurance regulator IRDA's approval, but that will be more of a procedural requirement. But at the moment, talking about the man at the helm, Narayanan Srinivasa Kannan, academically, he is a CFA from the Institute of Chartered Financial Analysts India, also holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. He is also an MBA in management from IIM Bangalore. As far as his association with ICICI Group goes, he was appointed as the project manager at ICICI Group in the year 1991, went on to become the executive director of ICICI Bank in the year 2009. Also, as far as the departments that he's looked after some of the most crucial departments like finance, treasury, corporate legal, operations, as well as risk management, with other various smaller departments. He was also appointed as the chairman of ICICI Bank UK PLC in the year 2017. He's played a material role when it comes to the various subsidiaries of the ICICI Group. He's been the chairman of various subsidiaries like ICICI Pru Asset Management Company, ICICI Eurasia, ICICI Securities Primary Dealership, as well as the life and the general insurance company, which is ICICI Prudential Life Insurance, as well as ICICI Lombard General Insurance. So yes, it's a clean blend of experience as well as understanding of the various group companies, which has really made the board decide on his name as far as the position of MD and CEO is concerned for ICICI Prudential Life Insurance.
All right, important developments flashing on your screen, a CNBC TV18 exclusive. This is with regards to PNB Housing Finance. So for more, we have Abhishek joining with us. Abhishek, what are you gathering?
Well, Mangalam, to begin with, the company is likely to see a downgrade very soon. Now, this is that the one of the rating agency is going to approach its committee for a downward revision of PNB Housing Finance ratings. Now, what typically happens in a rating downgrade scenario is that the analyst goes to the rating committee, and the rating committee then decides whether to downgrade or not to downgrade. Once that decision is taken, the rating committee then approaches the management of the company that it is downgrading, and then an announcement is made. So what I understand from my sources is that this move towards rating committee may be in a day or two very soon, and the rating announcement, the downgrade announcement, may follow up within a month. The rating agency is not comfortable with the non-housing portfolio, that is the loan against property and the builder loans or the developer loans. Now, there's another factor to this, is that the rating of PNB Housing Finance is supported by PNB's rating, and recently, that is last month, we saw a downgrade of PNB's rating from being a AAA rated entity to a AA plus rating entity from India Ratings and Research, that is the Fitch. So company is also planning to have a debt issuance of 5,000 crore. So when a rating downgrade happens, what impacts is that the cost of funds or the cost of borrowing for that particular company whose rating is downgraded actually increases. Also an alert that PNB is looking to pare its stake down in PNB Housing and capitalize on that same. Now PNB Housing Finance, we wrote to the management and the management said that the issue of rating review is totally hypothetical at this juncture. We shall revisit this issue as and when the agencies affect any action on our rating. Just to make our viewers understand, the current rating on PNB Housing Finance for its fixed deposits is AAA by CARE and by CRISIL also AAA bonds of or NCDs, that is the non-convertible debentures, are AAA by CARE and AA by CRISIL. So overall, they have a AAA and AA rating by various rating agencies.
Just one quick question, Abhishek. On what basis is the downgrade expected?
So this downgrade is expected because PNB's weightage on PNB Housing Finance is huge. So the parents, goodwill and reputation actually impacts the goodwill. So it's
the parent company which is going to impact, and therefore the stock has also cracked in trades. Also remember, as Abhishek pointed out, this particular company is going to also start a sale process, and PNB is supposed to sell stake in PNB Housing Finance, and a rating downgrade, valuation going down, could really impact that sale as well. Let's, with that, slip into a short breather on the show, but we get you all the excerpts of our exclusive conversation with Biocon CMD Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw when we return.
Welcome back. While we're holding on above that 10,700 mark for our markets, the mid-cap index at the low point of the day. Just keep an eye out on ICICI Bank showing some signs of recovery. It was weighed down in today's trading session by the market weakness. There was news of a big shake-up at the top for ICICI Bank, and now there seems to be a bit of recovery from the low point of the day. We'll keep an eye out on how that pans out. Just about to break into the green as we speak. But the stocks that have held on to the green in today's trading session, most of them, in fact, have been the pharmaceutical stocks, and as these pharmaceutical stocks hold on in the green, Biocon CMD Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw thinks that the Indian pharma industry has a huge role to play globally as more economies commit to healthcare. Our colleague Rukmini Rao caught up with her and asked her if the recent rally is any indication of better days of coming out of recent issues like price control as well as regulation. Listen in.
I think, the pharmaceutical sector has a huge global opportunity today. Economies are grappling with healthcare costs, with pharmaceutical costs, and I think India has a huge role to play in containing those costs. And I think, therefore, I believe that the pharma companies in India have a huge opportunity going forward as countries and economies focus on a larger footprint of their healthcare commitments and societal obligations. I think generics will continue to play a very important role. Biosimilars continue to play a very and growingly important role going forward. And I think overall, India's pharmaceutical industry is only going to go from strength to strength.
Ma'am, just a quick word on the US pricing pressure. Has it bottomed out really?
That's very difficult to comment on, because I think you are seeing that, as there is heated competition, you're seeing those pricing pressures. But increasingly, you're also seeing that pricing pressure actually starts, eliminating uncompetitive players, so to speak. So, it has its ups and downs. So it's always going to be this way.
All right, so pharma looking good, but State Bank of India in the last few minutes of trade has shown some bit of recovery. Keep an eye out on that one. And there is more news on that particular space. Finance Minister Piyush Goyal is meeting the heads of public sector banks to resolve the various issues which are plaguing this particular space. And Timsi Jaipuria, my colleague, joins in with all the details of what's on the agenda and what could be the expected outcome. Timsi.
As I speak to you, I'm at the SBI headquarters here in New Delhi, where a meeting between bankers and the government is underway. DFS Secretary Rajiv Kumar, Additional Secretary from DFS, are already inside. They've started the meeting with about 17 banks which are represented from the northern region and the eastern region. These are 17 PSU banks which are represented by their CEOs, EDs, etc. They are going to talk about the challenges that these banks are facing right now. In the meantime, SBI is also going to do some detailed presentations for these banks, talking about how to improve credit flow in the current circumstances of the economy. Also, what is the way forward amongst the challenges that the banks are facing. So let's see what happens and what transpires in the meeting. Finance Minister Piyush Goyal is also likely to be a part of this meeting, trying to give a message to these banks as to how they should deal with these challenges that they are facing in the current scenario. Let's see what happens and what finally transpires, and whether Finance Minister actually comes out with a possible solution to the challenges that these banks are facing. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot for that. Meanwhile, Interim Finance Minister Piyush Goyal has also said that there is no plan for a bad bank. Listen in.
That is a silly reporting that has been done over the last few days. I don't know whose idea you all have been talking about. I personally did the press conference. We have set up Sunil Mehta committee to examine an asset reconstruction company or an asset management company. One or two channels and newspapers started this concept of bad bank.
Welcome back. At this time, the Indian markets are still looking weak, as the global markets are, but some of the counters, metal counters like Tata Steel, Hindalco, in the last few minutes of trade have seen some bit of pullback supporting the overall frontline indices. Let's shift focus to pharma then, and Lupin says that worst of price pressure in the US is over. And we spoke exclusively to the CFO of the company, Ramesh Swaminathan, and hear out what he has to say about the future prospects.
We're also looking at realignment of certain parts of our portfolio, but for sure I think that the worst is behind us. But whilst I say this, generics is going to be, it would be important, but I think our concentration in the future would be on more complex generics, as well as on the specialty piece that we'll be developing.
All right, and moving on then, India will see a big transport revolution after Bharat Stage 6 norms get applicable in 2020. That's the word coming in on Maruti. Maruti is working towards a portfolio of hybrid and electric vehicles. We caught up with R.C. Bhargava, the chairman of Maruti Suzuki, to know about the state of infrastructure and capex expectations for the same. Let's listen in to what he had to say to CNBC TV18.
Major factor which raises the cost of electric cars is the battery. And over the last 6-7 years, battery costs have been coming down. The Government of India's policy towards electric cars, I think, has one major assumption in it, which is that this trend in the reduction of battery prices will continue over the next few years, and battery costs will halve to what they have been. Roughly, today battery costs, I think, about $200 per kilowatt hour. I think that will halve is the expectation. Many consultants have given that expectation also.
All right, it's time for some fun and games, and on to the FIFA World Cup fever. So latest update coming in from Russia, where FIFA 2018 is underway, and England left it late but managed to start their campaign with a 2-1 win over Tunisia.